A question for all of you who would like to ask a question yourself. We have no cards going around. Where's Jonathan Booth? He's there. This gentleman in the white shirt, and next to him is Anna. Thank you, Anna. They have note cards. You can write raise your hand if you need a note card and you want to write down some questions. They also have a red bag, and they'll be going around collecting your note cards to put them in a red bag. We'll draw randomly from the red bag. Okay, there aren't very many rules to the questions, except, of course, you don't want to be rude or say anything uncourteous. At the same time, the questions need to be general enough that both candidates are able to answer them. So in other words, don't ask a question that only Debbie or only Wade would be able to answer. Okay, just a quick question. I've been getting this for the last 2 or 3 weeks since we started organizing this debate. People are asking, well, who are the Young Republicans and what do you guys do? So if you don't mind, I just want to spend a couple of slides and just let you guys know exactly who we are. Okay, we're the ones that go after the 18 to 40 demographic and try to get them involved in politics. We're part of a larger group. We have the Texas Federation of Texas Young Republican Federation, as well as the National Young Republican Federation. And we're also an official auxiliary of the Republican Party of Texas. Our mission is to provide grassroots support for conservative issues and Republican candidates, locally and nationally. It's to attract young people to the Republican Party. We provide engaging and insightful activities and material to our members. We provided lots of training for our young members to go out. And we provided opportunities for young Republicans to be leaders today. This is an example of some of the events we've thrown in the last 6 months. This is our Dallas on Target event. A lot of you guys came to this event. We put this event on. The goal was to have a Q&A session, kind of a debrief after the election, to ask ourselves what worked, what did not work. What can we learn going forward? St. Patrick's Day, we always do a big parade. This is one of the ways we outreach to people in the 18 to 40 crowd. It's a very fun way. It's fun. People like to come and they have a great time. But then we also get them involved in training and help them understand how to be more effective in politics. This is our poll watcher training. We teamed up with True the Bold. It's a King Street Patriot group out of Houston. We teamed up with them and trained about 70 people from across the Dallas-Fort Worth area on better ways to be poll watchers. And then there's Cinco de Mayo as well. It's very important to people in our demographic to be able to reach out to, everyone from every different group. And so for Cinco de Mayo, we had a community outreach event. The Democrats are there. They're always there. So for the first time in a long time, there was a counteracting presence at this Cinco de Mayo event. You can see a little girl there. We had a donkey piñata, and yes, we did beat it. Yes, and we gave away candy, and we had balloons with our logo on it. Our booth was far more fun than theirs. They were just registering voters. So we're going to have a couple other events coming up in the future. We want to try to raise some money, and right after the summer, have a little barbecue event. The goal is to try to raise some money to assist candidates going into 2012. Yeah. So we'll be ready to help them. And then we also have a Politics 101 that we're going to be running in the fall. And this is for people in our demographic who don't know anything about politics. They don't know what a precinct chair is. They don't understand how the party structure works. They don't understand how to campaign. Our goal is to try to provide that training going into the primary season and going into the election season. So we'll be doing that in the fall. The reason I'm bringing all this up is just to let you know all these events, it costs us a lot of money, and we're just a small group. And so, our thought is if you like what we do and if you're having a good time, you think we're on the right track, you can actually be one of our supporters. And we just have a couple of basic levels. They're all always revolve around horses because it's Dallas. So we have the Bronco level, the Maverick level, the Mustang level, and the mythical Pegasus level. All right, so if any of you guys are interested in becoming a supporter, we'd highly appreciate that. Luke Niles And Jordan Miller. Where's Jordan? He's over there. Okay, they've got some handouts we'll pass out to you, just more literature on us. Other than that, that's it. I'd like to go ahead now and introduce our two candidates who don't really need any introduction because everybody knows who they both are. Let's have it for Wade Emmert and Debbie Drajados. Before we get started, I'd like to very quickly give a shout out. Just a couple of people that I know are here, and others I'm sure are here that I'm not aware of yet. Ron Natinsky is actually in the house. Hey, Ron, would you raise your hand? Okay, and I know there's some other people that are running for office as well. Raise your hand if you're running for office. And here we go, Kensley Stewart. Anybody else raise your hand and just introduce yourself real quickly?
Yeah, for Kurt Melanius is running for Dallas City Council, place 9.
All right.
Paul Freeman, Dallas School Board, Precinct 1.
Oh, in the back.
I'm Angie King. I'm running for Dallas County Commissioner for District 1 for Clay Maury Dickey.
Okay, well, without further ado, we're going to get started. We're going to start off the debate. First of all, we just, as young Republicans, we came up with a couple of questions to kind of get the conversation going. And then after we're done asking a couple of questions, then we're going to turn it over and start asking your questions. So if you haven't had a chance to get your questions in yet, you still got some time. Just look for the guy with the red bag, Jonathan Boos, and he'll come around. You can put your questions in there.
Are there any lights on the stage?
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Oh, hey, Mark.
We don't want them in the dark.
Mark. I'm Jared Atkinson. I'm broadcasting it live on Ustream on my Ustream account. Also, just so you know, Donna Starnes would have been here, but she's at home watching on the Ustream. So she's participating just without having to go through all the water. So.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, so well, we're going to start the debate right now. Each candidate gets an opening, statement, if you will. Each candidate has 5 minutes. Kind of give a little stunt speech for themselves, and then we'll go on to the wire questions. So, all right, ladies first.
Hello, everyone. So nice to see you, and thank you for coming out tonight in this rain, and thank you also to the Young Republicans for hosting this forum. A friend of mine who happens to be a precinct chair, and she's also a PhD in history, was telling me about, during the Revolutionary War time, about a third of the colonists wanted to keep peace with England, wanted to remain loyal. About a third wanted to fight, and the other third just really didn't care. But the third that fought, because they fought and they eventually established the building blocks of our nation, they got us to where we are today, that 1/3 that will do the fight. And she told me that pattern is repeated in many, many ways in world history. Well, right now in Dallas County, we have a fight. It maybe isn't as big as the Revolutionary War, but what the fight is about is taking back control of Dallas County, taking it away from the Democrats and bringing back good Republican government. I attended the Dallas County Commissioner's Court hearing yesterday, and John Wiley Price sat up on his throne and was gloating about the fact that in the last 3 election cycles, The Democrats have won all of the countywide races. He actually read this statement in the record, 2006, 2008, 2010. And he went on to talk about, they were talking about drawing lines for the new commissioner's district. And he actually talked about that this one particular district, which is intended to be majority Hispanic, would of course be Democrat. He couldn't see any other possibility that a Hispanic majority district would just have to be Democrat. Well, his thinking is in part because in the past, we have seen that voting pattern. But one of the things I want to do as Dallas County Party Chair is disabuse him of that notion that Republicans will not reach out to the voters who keep sending Democrats back to office. You know, I'll tell you, his bluster about the power of the Democrats in Dallas County made me realize he doesn't think we'll fight. He doesn't think we'll fight to take back Hispanic votes. He doesn't think we'll fight him on voter fraud. He thinks he's already won. I think in Dallas County, we need a new battle plan. The last 3 cycles, we've kind of had the same approach and we've had the same result. So going forward, I have a plan for working to bring back Republican government to Dallas County. I'll share 2 parts of it right now. One is, there are conservatives in every single community in Dallas County. We always hear about in the Hispanic community, many conservatives, they're with us on many issues. It's true in every community in Dallas County. And I think we, as a party, we have to have part of our priorities, one of our priorities be to actually do active, consistent, ongoing, sustained outreach. Because that is statistically the only way we'll win the county back. And I want to pause and talk statistically a moment. If you look around this crowd tonight, you see who's next to you and behind you and all that. Compare that with the Dallas County demographics. In Dallas County, we have 40% Hispanic, 35% Anglo, 20% African American, and 5% Asian and some other groups in that smaller group. Well, obviously that doesn't look like our room, our party, but the truth is it's our county, and I don't want our county to have perpetual, eternal Democrat rule. I want to take John Wiley Price out. I don't want Dallas to become Detroit. So we have to decide as a party, we're going to take on a more difficult challenge of bringing our conservative message to conservatives who are already there in all different communities. In my work in the Southwest Dallas County area, I can just tell you there are many, many conservatives. They need the support of the party. They need to know that we're with them. The other issue, the other part of the battle plan I'll share at the moment is that for the last 3 years at least, our county party has had a very kind of arm's length attitude towards some of the most active, engaged conservatives that there are in the country and in the county today, and that is the common sense conservatives, the Tea Parties, the Tea Party patriots. These people are energetic, they're knocking themselves out to get conservatives elected. And we need to link arms with them. We need to not treat them as though they're not part of us. I urge you, if you haven't done it, go to the Tea Party website, read their basic premises, their 5 points. You would think Ronald Reagan wrote it about the Republican Party. And I'll tell you that the Tea Party mainly is Reagan conservatives, and if we as a party will link arms with them and be a force, we can take back Dallas County. But it's going to require that friendliness, that inclusion with other groups that aren't Republican per se. And the last point I'll just tell you is, I think going forward, we need a leader for the Dallas County Party that has the vision to see we can't keep doing things the way we always have and expect a different result.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you very much.
Well, good evening. My name is Wade Emmert, and I'd like your vote for county chair. Thank you for coming out tonight in the rain, and I want to thank the Young Republicans for putting on the debate. And I want to give a shout out to those who are watching on Ustream Live or who are going to watch this later. This is an exciting time in our party. I didn't bring materials tonight. I didn't bring flyers or handouts. I just want to talk with you. I didn't bring any notes. I'm just going to speak from the heart. And so in my opening statement, I want to tell you a story. Monday, November 3rd, 2010. I woke up that morning, and for the first time in 2 years, I was no longer a candidate. You see, for the 2 years before then, my days were spent organizing volunteers, recruiting supporters, talking to clubs, engaging in debates, calling supporters, trying to get endorsements, trying to raise money, dealing with the realities of running a campaign on the size of Dallas County, which is massive. Talking to people all over the county, crafting a message, delivering that message in public, delivering that message in front of the media. That had been my life for 2 years. And on November 3rd, that was over. And frankly, it kind of felt good. But what didn't feel good was the frustration that I had. You see, the night before, Danny Clancy and I had came very, very close to taking the 2 top county jobs. So close. And in fact, had there not been a Libertarian candidate in my race, I might very well be your Dallas County judge. So I was frustrated because I didn't think it had to be that way. I thought if we had done more things, if we had organized differently, we could have changed the outcome. And so I sat down and started sketching out what I wanted to see in a county party. And I'll tell you, my county party looked a lot different than the current county party does. I started sketching out, how to run a county office. I started sketching out how we would raise money that was needed. I started sketching out how we would reach out to more Latino voters and African American voters. I started sketching out how we should organize the party and our volunteers. I started sketching out a new model for the Dallas County Republican Party. Now, I didn't know at the time I'd be standing in front of you today. But I did know that I cared about the party, and the results did not have to end that way. You are all here tonight for one reason. You want to win elections. You want to win elections in Dallas County, and each of you know in the pit of your stomach that what we're doing, what we have done for the last few cycles is not enough. We have to be different. We have to think outside the box. We have to reach out to other voters, to Latino community, to minority voters. We have to change the way we're doing things and organize precinct chairs, organize stakeholders, change the way we deliver our message. Over 2 hours tonight, you're going to hear from both Debbie and I. And I think at the end of those 2 hours, one thing is going to be crystal clear. One thing is going to strike you. And that is that there's not a lot of debate about what. There's not a lot of debate about what needs to happen. There's really not a lot of debate on how we need to do it. The question you're going to be left with is much more subtle than that. The question you're going to be left with is who? Who can do it? Who do you want to be the image of the Republican Party in Dallas County? Who do you think is the right leader that can motivate volunteers and precinct chairs as we go through the restructuring process? Who do you think can stand up to the Commissioner's Court and to John Wiley Price? Who do you think can stand up to an elections department that is now run by John Wiley Price? You see, the question is simple. It's not what or how, it's who. Over the past 3 years, both in my campaign, fighting for ballot integrity, fighting against the election judge who is using whiteout on provisional ballots, I've picked up the most difficult challenges for the party.
Thank you, Wade.
And I'll do it again as your county chair.
Okay, our first question, and Wade, since you went last, then we'll have you go ahead and go first. We'll alternate the questions. We'll alternate which candidate speaks first. Okay, how would you organize and implement staff and volunteers at the DCRP headquarters? What structure would you use? How would you delegate tasks, ensure your staff's time is used effectively?
How much time are you giving us for each answer? Just 3 minutes?
Yeah, 90 seconds.
Oh, 90 seconds. Wow. Our office doesn't work. It's broken. When people call and they don't get a return phone call, that doesn't work. When they send emails and don't get responses, when precinct chairs send applications to fill these spots and they don't get returned, nobody contacts them, that is broken. We have to fix our office. As county chair, that will be one of my first tasks. I think we need an office manager, somebody to train the people who answer the phones so that they know who our candidates are and can direct people to good information. When I was running, someone would call into the office, and these volunteers didn't even know who I was. They were the top county race. They didn't know who I was. We have to change that. We'll have an executive director, an office staff, and then depending on how our fundraising goes, I hope it goes well, I expect it to, then we'll have additional staff to head up different parts of running an office. Precinct chairs, IT, outreach, volunteerism, those types of things.
Thank you.
We both observed the same things about the county party. You know, in my calls to all the precinct chairs over these last few weeks, and those of you I haven't reached yet, I'm still calling. I can't wait to talk to you. But many of the complaints are similar to what Wade is mentioning. And there's also a failure of the party to be able to give precinct chairs the equipment, the data, the information they need to do their jobs. Precinct chairs are frustrated and they end up quitting, or they end up not really doing the precinct chair job because they don't get information from the party. So I am running as a full-time chair. I think that will make all the difference in the world. I don't think necessarily I'll need an executive director because I will be full-time. But I do think a paid, permanent, full-time, every day during the weekday, during the work week, person needs to be answering the phone. The phones have to be answered, messages forwarded, emails forwarded, a sense of a business-like office. That is the first piece. I think we need to have more, we do have committees, and I'm grateful for all the service to them that they provide, but I think a full-time chair is able to actually be there, meeting regularly with the committee chairs, moving the process along so that we get things happening like better precinct chair training or structured precinct chair training. I think we need to have regular precinct chair meetings so that the precinct chairs find out what's going on, what we need from them, what they need from us. It is right now, it has just been not an active place at the party. Thank you.
All right, next question. We'll go to Debbie to start this one off. Debbie, what would you do to convey the Republican message to Hispanic and other minority voters? What types of community outreach do you see doing?
That's my favorite subject. I will tell you, last night I spoke with some people in Southwest Dallas County, and one of the great ideas that came out of it was a woman who was talking with her neighbors across the street, and they are Hispanic and they're homeowners. They were paying the same level of property tax as one of her friends who lived a couple miles away in a much larger, much nicer home. And the reason was the Hispanic homeowners did not know you can appeal your property taxes. When we talk about outreach to the Hispanic community, it needs to be not just handouts, but it needs to be actual help that will benefit them and also offers them something that relates to our Republican message. One idea we were concocting last night was just to offer that kind of service to those people. Say, we'll help you understand how you get your property tax reduced. We'll work with you. And by the way, we're the Republicans. I worked in the Broden campaign and saw much of what the Democrats do all over Southwest Dallas County. They're involved in those people's lives. They help clean up playgrounds when that happens. They do community projects with their shirts on that say Democrat Party. We need to be in the community way before Election Day, actively engaging them, and not just with handouts, but with actually what our message is, what we stand for. And I hope later I can tell you that we need to talk more about things on the website so people get to the website and they see who we are and what we stand for, because I believe we can certainly bring a large number of conservative Hispanic voters into the fold.
There is an old saying, you better dig your well before you're thirsty. What's happened with the Republican Party is that we only reach out into Hispanic communities when we want their vote. Friends, they see through that. They know what we're doing. The reality is, if we want real outreach to Hispanic and Latino communities, we have to be there all year around. I'm so glad that I'm have had the opportunity to live in southern Dallas County, where a lot of our outreach should be. I've been involved in the community. I've been on city councils. I've served on regional boards. When I ran for county judge, I had a lot of crossover votes because people knew me. If you want to make a push into the Latino community in southern Dallas County, there's no better way to do that than to elect someone from southern Dallas County. I've been involved in the community. There is so much we can do, but we have to start now. As county judge, I was in parades, Martin Luther King parade. I was one of the only Republican candidates there. I've been involved in Hispanic organizations. I've been involved in city events and public city chambers of commerce. I'm involved. That's what we have to do if we want to reach out to the Hispanic community.
Okay, my next question is start off here with Wade. Wade, if you were to be elected as chair, how would you help Republican candidates in Dallas County get elected? What do you see we need to do differently to improve our situation?
So the question is, how do you win in Dallas County? This is longer than a minute and a half, so I'll speak quick. There's a number of things we have to do, and they all have to happen at the same time. We have to recruit good candidates. And if you're going to be a competitive county-wide, we need to recruit those candidates who are known in the communities before they want votes. They have to have credibility. I had credibility in my region when I started running, and it made all the difference in the world. Candidate recruitment is key. We have to be organized. Precinct chairs have to be filled in every precinct. And if we have a precinct chair who's not cutting his or her, lifting their own weight, then we need to get rid of them. And get active precinct chairs. We have to be organized. We have to recruit candidates, we have to be organized, and we have to raise money so that we can properly showcase these candidates. And finally, we have to increase voter turnout. You increase voter turnout by appealing to the base and reaching out to Latino and African American voters to bring them into the fold and tell them why they should be voting conservatives.
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree with him. We know we have a little more time for our conversation. Of course, I agree with all that Wade has said. There are wonderful candidates in all sorts of communities. It's our job to find them and encourage them to run. We also, I'm aware in this last election cycle, in fact, this current election cycle, that candidates weren't finding the help they needed from the county party. We need to have information available when the candidates call in and say, here's your packet. Here's what you can do. Here are people who will help with, managing, consulting, precinct data analysis. Candidates who just kind of felt left out and not sure how to go forward because they didn't get the actual help from the county party they needed. And those are, once that packet's made up, it's available for every time, for every candidate who runs. And there really is an important process of vetting. That's just can't be stressed strongly enough that we need to be willing to listen to people who want to run, but ultimately we have to run candidates who are viable and can win. I love the slate of candidates we had last time. I thought they were wonderful. We were also many places where we didn't run a candidate. We didn't run in many judicial races, and the Republican presence needs to be in everywhere in Dallas County. Part of growing our party is having our Republican Party present in every community, seen in every race, seen as an active, engaged agent all around Dallas County. And I think that we can win elections. I think that the numbers in Dallas show that the only way we'll ultimately win is by the active growing of the Republican voter base, which we don't have in Dallas County right now.
Thank you. Right, Debbie, what are some of your specific ideas for helping the DCRP work effectively with other local Republican clubs?
Well, that's another wonderful question for me. I've been president of the Park Cities Republican Women, which is one of the largest clubs in the state, and also involved in the Dallas County Council of Republican Women, and on many occasions, and also as vice chair of the party, taking on a project last year which involved going and meeting with every single club in Dallas County and connecting those clubs with candidates they could back. And so I've already been very involved with all the clubs around the county. And I will say that I think that we need to, as county party chair, I would like to meet regularly with the presidents of all, not just the Republican women's clubs, but all the clubs in the county, go out to where they are instead of making them come into us, find out how the county party can help them, let them know what help the county party needs. I think our membership of the Republican women's clubs and the Republican clubs around the county, there's an army waiting for orders. And if we can hear from them the kinds of things they want to do and include them in the party's plan, we're just building an army of already excited, already active people. So I think we need a much better and closer connection than has existed in the last 3 years between the county party and all of the clubs. They're just an army waiting to serve.
Thank you.
There's a symbiotic relationship between clubs and the party. Clubs help motivate people locally. Clubs can deal with issues locally that the party may not even be aware of. So the clubs are vitally important to the county party. The county party is important to the clubs. They can provide the clubs with information. I've already been contacted by candidates, statewide candidates, who want to be involved in Dallas County. One thing the party can do is to provide these candidates with information to speak to these clubs. One thing the clubs can do for the party is to provide information back to the party, help us keep our voter data up to date. It's a symbiotic relationship. I'm going to make a commitment to you and to all the clubs in this room. I will be at your club meetings. I will speak at your club meetings. I've already accepted, some requests to attend club meetings. You're going to have a supporter in me as your county chair to help you do what you need to do.
Thank you, Wade.
I think your clapping almost makes me feel worse because it's just a few people clapping. So I'd rather you not clap or clap real big. So one or the other, please. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Oh, Wade, this is there are two sides to this question, and so we'll ask the first part of the question first. Okay, do you think it matters whether or not a chair is full-time or part-time?
I think it absolutely matters. And I plan to be a full-time chair. Whoever wins this spot is going to be a full-time chair. That's the nature of the job. That's what it is. I can tell you that I am a managing partner in one of the oldest law firms in Dallas County. That gives us at least two advantages. Number one, I'm connected with the legal and business community. I think it's very difficult for a county chair to reach out to businesses and communities and to raise money if you're not connected with that community. But more importantly, as a managing partner, I've already made partner. And as a managing partner, I've got more flexibility in my time. I am not like Jonathan Neerman in terms of where he was in his law firm. I made partner many, many years ago. Maybe not that many, 8 years ago. And so I have more flexibility in how I choose to use my time. When I was defending Linda Harper Brown, I had some great people working for me, and we used my office as the base for that entire defense. And I will continue to use my firm as a resource, and my firm will continue to support me and you as I fulfill the county chair role. Thank you.
Just at the time that Jonathan Neerman called me to tell me he was going to step down as county party chair and to say he was passing the baton to me, I was right in the middle of negotiations with a major Senate candidate to go work for his campaign. And I stepped back from those negotiations and decided that if this county party chair job was going to be what I would do, I needed to do it full time. Because I don't think it's realistic, given the project we have ahead of us, to have someone who's got a law practice, whether it's part-time or just completely non-existent, or I'm not sure whether my opponent is actually saying it's non-existent. I think it's just a reduced hours type thing. But it's also with small children. We're in a position in our lives where our children are out of the house. Our youngest is a sophomore in college, and I'm committing to do it full time. And that is the reason I stepped back from my discussions with the Senate candidate. because I don't think it is. I think where we are in Dallas County requires full-time. And I will tell you that in partly in preparing for this job, I met recently with the county party chairs in Denton and Tarrant County. And they're both women, they're both full-time. Those counties are red as can be. And, you know, we can say, well, Dallas is different because the demographics are different. But what that really means is Dallas more than ever needs a real full-time chair who doesn't have a law firm in the background and small kids at home, a real, engaged, on-track, full-time chair. And that's what I'm committing. And that's what I think is needed right now. In the past, we haven't had that. And if we were winning our elections, thank you.
Debbie, do you think it matters whether or not a chair has ever run for public office or managed a large campaign?
I think it matters if a chair had no political experience, they would be completely unable to become a chair. My past experience in campaigns, I think, has involved fundraising, messaging, organizing the troops, sending out precinct walkers, organizing precinct plan, strategy to win. I've worked on campaigns in the past. And so, although I haven't been the candidate until now, I think all the range of what's needed as a candidate has been part of my experience in the last several years in Texas. So, no, I don't think it matters if you've been a candidate before, as long as you've been involved in the political process and understand all the pieces that are required, which I think I do.
I run for a sorry,
Sorry.
That's like saying you can give marriage advice if you've never been married. If you've never run a campaign and been the candidate, you have no idea what it's like. There are many of you in this room, some who are candidates right now. Before you made the decision to run, I won't embarrass you, but before you made the decision to run, you called me because you knew I had just been through it and I knew what to expect, or I could tell you what to expect. I could tell you how to organize your campaign. I could tell you some of the pitfalls that you were going to face, and I could tell you what some of the issues were going to be when you faced them. There's probably 4 or 5 candidates in this room right now who called me because you knew I knew how to do it. There is no substitute for actual experience as a candidate. And as having a law practice, my record speaks for itself. You know, there's an old saying that says, if you want something done, ask a busy person. You need to only look at my results to see that I am fully committed to this party. I have given up and sacrificed for my job for this party, and I've been successful in every step of the way, and I'll be successful for you as we win in 2012.
How would you better utilize the precinct chairs, and how would you improve their training, especially for those that are new to this?
Better utilize. When I was running for county judge, there wasn't much of a precinct chair organization out there. And so we had to invent one. We had to create one. I had city directors in just about every city in Dallas. Because it's so big, I had city directors or district directors in the council districts. You know, for example, in Coppell, Todd Landrum was my city director. And if I needed something in Coppell, like to deliver signs, I took them to him and he delivered them. Or he reached out to the precinct chairs. That's one way we can organize precinct chairs, the ones who are active, to help keep them all working in the right direction, and to replace those who aren't active. How do we train them better? We have to train them. We have done very little training. I want to have a mentoring program. Some of you precinct chairs have been doing it for a long time. You've got a lot of experience to pass on to some of these younger precinct chairs. I would like to see mentoring programs. I'd like to see webcasts. I would like to see regular meetings of precinct chairs. We have to train our precinct chairs to do what they have to do to win.
As a precinct chair, like you all are, I have attended the precinct training given by the Dallas County Republican Party. I will tell you, though, in the last year, I became aware of all sorts of other trainings offered by wonderful groups all over Texas, like American Majority, like the Tea Party, like the True the Vote people. There are precinct trainings available, precinct chair trainings that would be so helpful, and there has been an unwillingness of our party to share those, to put them on the website, to encourage people to go to them. I think the more precinct chairs are trained, the more they're comfortable and confident in doing their jobs. I also noticed in the last week or so, visiting precinct chairs in their various areas, that, for example, in Garland, some of the precinct chairs up there said, well, the party never comes up here. There is no reason our precinct chair trainings have to be a massive, all-day, everyone together kind of project. We can go, when you have the time to commit to this job, you can go up and have a precinct chair training for the group in Garland, maybe unique issues about Garland and how they'll walk around, how that area, and doing practice walks. The big thing for new precinct chairs is getting past that first, do I want to knock on this door and start talking politics with my neighbor? But if you do it with a friend, and a friend who's done it before, and you knock on a few doors, you practice together, and you step back and say, wow, that didn't work so well, maybe this. That's the kind of precinct chair training that actually helps people.
Debbie, what kind of media and social networking and so forth would you continue to use, or what would you implement if you were to be the next chair?
I love social media. I say, first of all, I love Facebook, and I think most people in the room are probably on Facebook, and it's a great way to communicate. I think Facebook is wonderful. I think for our party we had a problem, as you all know, I'm sure, in 2008, because we were not on to social media, and the Democrats were. I think we've caught up. I think we've figured out what we have to do, but there are endless new things that can be used all the time, and we need to use all of them. One specific thing I would love to do is have our Dallas County Party website have a blogging function so that we can get like the young Republicans and other groups who would love to be part of that discussion. Let them see what we're doing, let them comment. Make it an interactive, fun website so people come to it more. There's more content, there's more substance. Those kinds of things make people feel included and involved in the party. I would love to have our website have blogging. I would love to use Facebook and emails, of course, and different niches of voters, like different kinds of communication. Use it all.
Thank you.
Social media is bigger than just Facebook. I see her in the audience. I don't want to embarrass her, but there's a website called Liberty Linked out there that is a Facebook for conservatives. A Facebook for conservatives. Imagine if we could harness that power in Dallas County. If you know me, you know that I am a technology geek. I am very active on Facebook. I'm very active on Twitter and a number of other things. I had, as part of my brainstorming session I told you about earlier, I came up with 2 new websites, 2 new domains, DallasGOP.me and DallasGOP.tv. Their first one is, I want it to be a social network for the Republican Party in Dallas County to keep us engaged. The second one, I want it to be a video streaming service that we can use not only for our candidates to get the message out, but for our elected officials to get the message out, and more importantly, so that we as a county party can get the message out to precinct chairs. And if they can't come to our training, they can watch it online, and they can watch what we are doing. There are so many things that we could do that involve social networking and using technology to get the message out, and frankly, we've just scratched the surface. If you want somebody that understands social media, then you know, get you a techie geek like I am, because there are a lot of exciting things that we can do.
Thank you, Wade. Wade, what are your fundraising goals, and how would you go about trying to meet those goals?
Raise lots of money is the goal. No, that's an obvious answer. The reality is that our county party through 2011, roughly there's a certain base sum, and I know we've got about $150,000 that it costs us just to keep the lights on. And frankly, that number is a little bit decreased because for the latter half of this year, we're not going to have to pay rent in whatever office building we move into. So there's a lot of money that's required just to keep the lights on. To do that, you have to have a relationship with big donors. I developed those relationships when I ran for county judge. All the big donors in the county know who I am. They know me as a county judge candidate, and most of them gave me money, and they'll give me money again. But it's not just the big donors. We have to reach out to smaller donors. I was very proud, and as candidate for county judge, I didn't raise more money than the personal injury lawyers that contributed to my opponent, but I raised a lot more numbers from people, from smaller amounts from a larger number of people. I'm very proud of that because it means I'm connecting with people, and people who give small donations, that money means something to them, and they were willing to share it with me. There are so many things we can do, but we have to go out for the big donors, and we have to continue to push for the smaller donations and people that just want to help.
Fundraising is about job number one for the county party chair. And I'm very, very confident that my connections with conservative donors, not just Republicans, conservative donors all over this county will make me very able to be a very successful fundraiser. I chaired in the past the annual fund for one of the largest private schools in the county, and the fund itself being the largest. I have connections with very conservative donors who always donate to that, and connections in numerous other communities in Dallas that are conservatives. And I'll tell you something that has happened though. Over the last few years, people tend to want to donate, conservatives will donate to candidates they like and not the party. The NRCC donations are down, the Senate Republican National Committee is down, the Dallas County donations are down. And that's because people were not inspired by what the party was doing. And so they'd rather pick their candidates and just do that. If people see a vibrant, active, engaged Dallas County Republican Party, which is what it'll be when I'm running it, they will respond to that. Donors aren't going to respond if we're doing business as usual. They're not going to respond if we're just barely treading water moving along. They want to see action. They want to see us unite with other conservatives in Dallas County. And when we do that, the action, the energy that's coming out of our party will cause them to donate.
Debbie, what would you do with all the money that you raised? How would you spend it?
Oh, do I have plans? You know, one thing I will say is part of the Dallas County Republican Party's headquarters is always right up here in North Dallas. And we've had the lease is going to expire in the end of July. We've known this for months. We've been looking at different locations. I would rather have a small location up here in North Dallas County and a location in Southwest Dallas County, and actually, if we could have a third location somewhere way out, like in Capel, Irving type area, because we need a presence in those communities. We don't need huge office space, we need a presence. We need our name out front, Dallas County Republican Party. We need activity out of those because that's the way people will feel our presence in their community. And they will feel like we're out there caring and being involved in their communities and not just 2 weeks before the election cycle. So in the dream fundraising, I would have at least 3 offices. One right here, small, and all 3 of them very small, but at least 2. And the other thing I'll say is that we don't need to have a meeting space. Our office right now, we pay for that enormous meeting room, and it isn't even big enough anyway to have our executive committee meetings at, and so we're having to rent places anyway. So have a meeting room, one conference room is about all the space you need. And again, having visited and studied the Tarrant County and Denton County setups, they have a great setup with much less cost per month than we're paying right now.
Thank you, David. What would you do with all that money?
That's all right. The name of the game is voter turnout.
Yes.
You take your money, you spend it to register Republican voters and get them to the polls. You know, I think field offices are great. We have one in Southwest Dallas County. I think they're valuable. They are used. But if you want the most bang for your buck, you spend it in voter registration and voter outreach. You know what the Democrats do? They take their money and they pay precinct chairs. Now think about that. When you start paying, I'm not suggesting we pay all of our precinct chairs, but I do think we ought to spend our money wisely, and when you pay people something, then they stay engaged in what they're doing. For example, if we need somebody to head up our IT for the county and our data integrity and our voter contact information, if they get something, not much, but something, they're more likely to be engaged and feel like they're part of the process. We had this discussion with folks in Southwest Dallas County the other day about contributing or helping offset some expenses for people who volunteer their time. I think that is a valuable way to spend money. Now, the name of the game is raising money, voter turnout, and then using that money during the election cycles for our candidates to get the message out.
Okay, this will be the last question from us, and then we're going to start getting some questions from you guys. And so if you still have some more questions, we have Jonathan Boos over there with the red bag and the white shirt. He'll come around, raise your hand if you got any last questions. Okay, last question. Just walk us through, if you will, an average week at DCRP headquarters, if you're the chair. Just kind of let us know, how do you see yourself spending your time in that last, during a typical week?
I think if you have been involved in the county party, you know there's really not a typical week. The ideal week would be a morning spent calling, raising money. You're going to spend X number of hours each day calling donors, trying to raise money. You're going to spend time preparing for meetings that you're going to have probably that evening with your volunteers at party headquarters. You're going to spend time at those meetings. You're going to spend time going to club meetings. You're going to spend time cultivating relationships with the media because you're going to spend time answering questions from the media. This job is a dynamic job. It is not a 9-to-5 punch the clock job. If that's what you're expecting, you'll be sorely mistaken. This is the type of job that requires a dynamic leader who can do many things during the day. That's the type of leader I have been. That's what I was doing when I was running for county judge. I handled all aspects of a large campaign. And I can tell you there's no typical day. You have to be able to be dynamic and be able to roll with the punches, whatever they may be, and believe that they'll surprise you.
Thank you.
I certainly agree it's a dynamic job. I think part of what's happened over the last few years is when people go up to the county party headquarters or they call, nobody's there. My notion is you need to be at the office or have someone at the office so it's an active presence all the time. But really, as a county party chair, I'm going to think about this county party kind of like a startup company. Because that's what we are in Dallas County. We do not have market share. We need to think of our job, this job as county party chair, as leading a small startup, and everything you do is focus on the prize of raising the presence and power of the Republican Party, registering new voters, bringing them into the fold, making connections with all the communities of conservatives all over Dallas County. You've got to be an actively engaged person, so there's certainly not going to be a sit at the office all day. It's kind of like when I practiced law years ago. It's really a full-time job. It's evenings and weekends. You just kind of work all the time, and I love that. When my husband started his new startup here in Texas, he made the comment, actually it was his previous startup, he made the comment, when he wakes up in the morning, he can't wait to go to work. He just loved doing that. That's how I feel about politics. That's how I feel about running the county party. There's so much that can be done when there's a full-time effort, including connecting with all those communities where ultimately we'll bring those voters into our party.
Thank you, Debbie. You mixed them up real good, right?
Yeah. Take mine.
Okay, the first question is, how many hours per week will you work on non-chair related activities?
I will tell you that I do not work outside our home. I am involved in one club, the Park States Republican Women, and that my job is kind of done for that for the year. So I will not have outside commitments to this, other than this party chair job. And I'm deliberately and consciously choosing that because those of you who know me know that I'm usually involved in campaigns and projects and clubs. I have a bundle of energy, but I think this job requires so much that I am stepping back from the other activities. So the answer is I will not have outside responsibilities, other than, of course, my family. But outside responsibilities, I'm at a phase in life when our kids are out of the house, a lot of time and a lot of passion, and I want to bring back Republican government to Dallas County, and I will do it full time.
I will spend some hours each day working at my paying job, but I will be available 24/7 as your county chair. You know, I believe that it takes more to run this party than just time on your hands. And I have been effective in everything I've done for this party. When I ran for county judge, I was effective. I spent, day and night thinking about how I could win my campaign and what more I could do. I don't think anybody in this room says I didn't spend the required time as county judge, as the county judge candidate. When I was representing Linda Harper Brown, I spent day and night working for her. When I was ballot integrity director, I spent many nights at the elections department training poll watchers. Many of you took the class, you know. I am committed. It's not just how much time, it's not just a number of hours, it's what you do with those hours. And every step of the way, I've proven time and time again that I am the guy that can get the job done.
Thank you. All right, Wade, tell us how you would keep the Dallas County GOP precinct chairs fully engaged, both between and during elections.
Well, we have to reach out to them. We have to communicate with them. That's part of the process. That's part of the solution. In the past, I'm not sure the county party has really stayed engaged with the precinct chairs. I think we need to have regular meetings. I expect to have regular meetings at party headquarters, or I'll even go to their area, to their city, and have meetings with them. I feel like we have to keep them engaged by meeting with them, keep them engaged by having them be part of the process, part of the development of the strategy, and part of the implementation of the strategy. I also expect to use technology. For those who can't come to a place to meet, they can watch online, much like Jared's doing with Ustream. There are so many things we can do to keep precinct chairs engaged, and frankly, I think the party has really dropped the ball in keeping them engaged. As your county chair, my pledge to you is to keep our precinct chairs informed about what's going on in the process, what's going on in the party, and so they will stay engaged.
Thank you.
When you think about what it is to be a precinct chair, and obviously we have several rows of precinct chairs, you're kind of like the army on the ground. You are the ones who find in your precincts the Republicans who are active, the Republicans who are people who are conservative and not yet involved. Your job is to get all those folks inspired, and the county party's job is to keep the precinct chairs inspired. I want to have monthly meetings of precinct chairs, and I want to have speakers, not just a business section, but speakers so we feel inspired, we have something to talk about, and we share ideas with each other, and what we tried in our precinct, and how this worked, but this didn't work so well. And also, there's no reason in our precinct chair meetings not to include activist Republicans. I do hear people saying, I would have loved to come, but I didn't know if I was invited. The people who care, who are just engaged with the party, with conservative principles, should be included in our precinct chair meetings. And I would like to have monthly ones with speakers, and then also, and actually keep that schedule going way off season, because part of what we can be doing right now is identifying voters in our precincts who only vote in the general, and we don't know they're Republicans. Once we get them into our database, we make them our friends, we turn them out as primary voters, and that's how they end up being supporters of the party and reliable voters.
Thank you. Yeah, next question. Okay, Debbie, would you require a petition if precinct chairs wanted to have an executive meeting?
You know, there is a bylaw provision that provides that. Our bylaws right now say that precinct chairs can put a petition together and demand a meeting. But I would never want to get to that. I don't want to stop precinct chairs from meeting. I think if the precinct chairs think there's an issue or a reason to meet, let's call one. I hope our meetings are regular enough that people wouldn't feel like they had to do a petition, but the bylaws should provide for it, as they do now. But I wouldn't require it. No, I would love to have them. I'd like to be in such regular contact. I'd like to think of all the precinct chairs as my friend, my ally, that they call and say, hey, you've got to meet and talk about this. X, Y, Z is happening. I want to have that contact. It wouldn't have to be a petition to have a meeting. But I certainly would honor a petition if there were one.
This will be a short answer. No, I wouldn't require a petition for a meeting. I view the county party not as my party, but as your party precinct chairs and your party stakeholders. If you want to meet, then I'll provide a place for you. If you want me there, I will be there. In fact, I'd like to be there even if you don't want me there. But I will be there and support you in your efforts. If you want a meeting, you'll have a meeting.
All right, next question. Well, one of our rules is it has to be, you have to be able to, both candidates have to be able to answer the question. Oh, here he goes. Good one. All right, what conservative books or newsletters or literature have you read that has formed your conservative conscience?
I remember reading, I read a lot of books, some fiction, but my favorite are biographies, biographies of wonderful leaders. And there's a couple of political idols that I have. Well, there's a number of them. Of course, Ronald Reagan is an idol because he was alive during, as I was forming some of my conservative beliefs. And I remember reading a wonderful book by Peggy Noonan. You probably know it. Of course, she talks about Ronald Reagan and the personal side of the man. But I'm also a fan of old-style Republican politics, Teddy Roosevelt. I'll read just about anything about David McCullough. And if you couple David McCullough with Teddy Roosevelt, I'm there. Lincoln, of course, is one of my heroes as well. The book about how he pulled together people who didn't always agree with him because he knew that through honest debate, better decisions are made. Those are my idols. Those shaped my political philosophies. I believe that we as a party should come together, and even if we don't all agree on everything, we should all work toward the same goal. And I saw strong leaders in Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and Reagan. Different styles, but all strong leaders. They were committed to the party. They were committed to good government. As your county chair, those types of things will influence how I run the party.
I'm a big reader too. Guess you're probably not surprised to hear that. I love reading actually very early American history and kind of what George Washington went through. And you probably all read some of those books about what they went through, when he went through and crossing the river and Christmas Eve and all that. But the reason I love it is because those people had such a glimpse of how precious our country could be in all world's history, in all other countries in the world. Compare with countries that had kings and queens and royalty. We were founded in ideas. I love reading the early founders of our country, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. I love the things they write. I also love, there's a book by Hayek called The Road to Serfdom, which essentially talks about what happens in a country when you have the government grow and everyone becomes more dependent on it, there's less and less freedom. It's a fabulous commentary on what can happen in countries if you don't demand and insist on the freedom, which I think is under threat right now when we look at what Washington, D.C. is doing under President Obama. And I think that the more we're alert to how far left our country is moving, the more activists we will be as Republicans and conservatives. I also am involved with the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., and the Texas Public Policy Foundation here. And both of those groups, if you ever have a question on any policy you can possibly think of, they probably researched it, detailed it, and they can tell you the answer. I love reading their literature.
I want to get one from the bottom now. There we go. Okay. What would be your first step in this is a two-part question, or two questions in one, and we'll ask them both. What would be your first step in reaching minority communities, and have any minority groups endorsed you, and if so, which ones?
I'll tell you that I think it's among them, as I said earlier in my opening statement, it's one of the single most important responsibilities we have as a Republican Party. In Dallas County, the head of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly has endorsed me. because he knows I actually care about bringing the conservative message to the Hispanic community and bringing those people into our Republican fold. I also am very connected with a group in Southwest Dallas County, and I'll tell you, they actually formed in a church in Oak Cliff, and these are African American gentlemen who really were uncomfortable letting their fellow parishioners know that they're good conservative Republicans. But they started talking together, realized they formed a group. There are now 40 of them. They cannot wait for me to be county party chair. They know how much I care about bringing the conservative message all around Southwest Dallas County. They've also endorsed me. I also want to mention that in the Cedar Hill area, right after the election last year, when we realized that Pastor Broden had lost his campaign, I started working with a group down there whose entire mission is to find precinct chairs in areas where there have not been Republican precinct chairs, plan and implement a training program. And it has been so exciting because there really are conservatives everywhere. And they need a little bit of support, encouragement, and they'll come around and be with us. I've enjoyed chairing that group. I've enjoyed working with everyone down there. And I do think that we need to keep our Republican presence active down there. Thank you.
One of the first things we need to do as a party is acknowledge the Latino community. When I was running for county judge, one of my fellow candidates, Dan Montalvo, was running with me. He was our only Hispanic candidate on the ballot. He was the only one that stepped forward. And for the last, for really the entire time we were on the campaign trail, he begged the county party to do some outreach in the Latino community. Begged him. He knows, he and I have talked about outreach to the Hispanic community, about what I want to accomplish, and they match up with his views. He's endorsed me for county chair because he knows that I have a real commitment to Latino community and to outreach in minority communities. Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto, Lancaster. I don't have to travel down there to be in Southwest Dallas County. I am there. I live there. I have been involved in that community for a decade. I've been a city councilman in Cedar Hill. I've been president of economic development in Cedar Hill. I have been on a board of the Best Southwest Partnership, which is a group of elected officials throughout that area. I've got credibility in the minority and Latino communities.
I have to try to make sure I understand the handwriting, sorry.
Read mine, Mark.
It's buried in there, I'm sorry, Jared. Okay. Okay, it starts off with a statement. So right now, we Dallas County Republicans, we are blessed with African American Republican statesmen and Chief Justice Caroline Walker, State Rep Stephanie. Caroline Wright, of course, thank you. State Representative Stephanie Carter as well. What are your reflections on how to enrich our strength with the African American community?
I think we have a struggle with the African American community, especially those in Southern Dallas County, because they grow up being told that they're Democrats from the earliest remembrance. They were told they're Democrats. If we want to have significant effects in the African American community, they have to know we care, and not just about votes. When I was running for county judge, I had a lot of crossover votes because they knew I was involved in the community and I cared. But we have to also craft the message in a way that conveys what we're trying to convey to them. I had a Democrat operative review some of my stuff, and she said, well, this has Republican all over it. Well, it wasn't the word. It was words like economic development or Baylor or Abilene Christian University, where I went to school. She said, those are Republican schools. Economic development is a Republican word. You're never going to reach out to the African American community using those words. You have to talk about jobs. You have to talk about supporting some of our other elected officials. We have to not only be involved in the community, but we have to craft our message don't compromise on what we believe. Just craft our message so it conveys the right intent to those who are reading it. And that message is going to be different in African American communities and Latino communities.
The group I mentioned earlier, they have a name for themselves. These are these approximately 40 gentlemen who meet now in South Oak Cliff. They call themselves the Game Changers, but it's spelled C-H-A-I-N. And the idea, Game Changers spelled that way, is that they see welfare and big government as chains on the freedom and the opportunity in African American communities to build their communities, to become successful business people, to be free of the chains of dependence on government. And through my work in the Broden campaign and other campaigns throughout the time I've been very active in Dallas County, I have heard often that when we try to come down to African American communities and talk at them and tell them whatever message we have, they need to hear it through their community first. And so this is why I'm so appreciative of this group down in Southwest Dallas County. They want the support of our party, but we can't be in their faces telling them this is how you should think this, not that. We need to work through people in their community. And on the subject of ideas and how to engage them, you all probably watched the debate recently, the presidential debate, and Herman Cain did such a home run job. We know if you have Herman Cain as an example, he'd be a great speaker at one of our Dallas County Republican Party Reagan Day dinners. Invite him here, get him for that, and have him come speak in South Dallas afterwards.
Well, Jonathan's put a few more questions in there. Let me just give you a quick shout out real quick to Luke. I don't know if you guys see him. He's this guy right down here. You can't even see him. He's keeping time, and he has a very thankless task. But I just want to point out is that our speakers up here, they don't have any other way of knowing when their time is up, when it's been 90 seconds. So if I interrupt him, it's because they just don't know, what 90 seconds is. So just keep that in mind.
I gotta take a focus that camera.
Well, it goes in and out. I tried. Sorry to everybody who doesn't have perfect.
All right, can you tell me your specific plan on how you will work with all the county politicians and cite some examples on how to manage conflict and yet ensure that conservative principles are enforced? In other words, how do you manage controversial beliefs?
Ultimately, the job of the county party chair, once the primary process is over and the Republican voters have spoken, that's the candidate. And the county party chair's job is to work with every candidate the primary voters have chosen. I know there's a range of political viewpoints with the politicians in Dallas County. I have good relationships with all of them, having worked in club work and worked on campaigns and volunteered and walked. I think I probably know every politician in Dallas County by first name, and they know me. And they certainly, some of them are not as conservative as I am. And that's okay. I mean, I'm grateful. I meant to say much earlier today, I'm grateful for every single Republican who will stand for office, who will go through the campaign process, who will serve, because it's often thankless. I mean, and so I'm grateful for all of them. I know we're not always going to agree on all issues. We just are never going to do that. But we need to have a respectful connection and recognize that any Republican elected is better than any Democrat anytime. And so we support and connect with all Republicans.
The question was, how do we deal with elected officials and resolve conflict? I don't think it's the party's job to get in the middle of conflict between elected officials, but I will tell you that I have a relationship with them. From my time as a city councilman, I've developed relationships with city councilmen all over the county. In every city in this county, even those in southern Dallas County, DeSoto, Lancaster, I've got relationships with those elected officials. I've also got relationships with many of the state reps. A lot of them I ran with. They were on the campaign trail with me. The other day, Kenneth Sheets calls me from the floor of the House. I've got relationships with these candidates, or with these state reps, because I've worked with them, I've run with them. I've got relationships with some of the most well-known, our senior elected officials in the county. Pete Sessions, John Corona, Dan Branch, for example, each one of them endorsed me in my county judge race. I've got relationships. I've got access to their staff. I've got relationships with them. and I can speak frankly with them, respectfully, and they can speak frankly with me. We've got that relationship, and if there's ever an issue, I feel like there will be no problem with me approaching them to discuss it and trying to resolve it if it's the county party's role to resolve it.
Every now and then you just got to mix it up real good. Given how horrific running for office is, how can you, as the chairman, convince someone to run for state rep or judge?
Well, I can tell you that that a number of people have already asked me if they should do it, and they've already chosen to do it. I can tell you that it is the way you do it, the way you convince people to run, is that you don't try to convince them to run. You be honest with them, tell them what's involved, tell them what they can expect. People who run for these offices understand, or at least they think they understand, the time commitment that's going to be involved and the impact it's going to have on their lives. I want to be very frank and very clear with them, because when they do choose to run, I want them to be in it to win it and not to back out at the last minute. I've already talked to a number of candidates who are excited about running. I'm excited about them running. We're going to have a great slate of candidates coming up in these next elections, and I look forward to taking back these seats in Dallas County with candidates who know what to expect and are prepared for the job ahead.
The wonderful thing about candidates is they're only even thinking about it because most of them do want to serve. About judicial candidates, I know a lot of the judges, and they will say it's a step down in pay. It may be a step up in stature in some ways, but it's because they want the judicial system to work. They want quality, they want the rule of law to apply. So I wouldn't want to convince them to run, but I think you get many, many candidates because they want to run. They want to serve the judicial system. They want to serve our legal system. And about people running for office, for state rep, or Congress, or anything, you know, when President Obama got elected, I know many, many people knew what was going to happen before he took office, and then sure enough, what he has done since he took office bore out what we knew would happen. And for many people, myself included, my thought at that time was, I don't want later to look back at life and say, gee, could I have done more to stop his agenda? That is my mission, my passion, and I think it's why many, many people run for state rep, because they want to stand up for what America is supposed to be like, what Texas is supposed to be. They don't need convincing. They are out there because they want to stop the very left-wing agenda that's happening in Washington and is filtering down to Texas. So I wouldn't want to convince them. They don't need it.
Okay. Why do you think you are best qualified to be our chair?
Well, I'll start with a couple of things. I think I'm best qualified because I've been working as vice chair in the county probably the last year and a half. And I was going to tell you, I really watched after the last election cycle and what happened in our county party-wide elections. And I sat down with Jonathan Neerman right after the elections, and I said, look, there are a lot of unhappy grassroots people. We have been keeping the Tea Party out for reasons that are not clear to me. And we don't have a committee structure in place. I went through all that had to happen, and at the time, that was not the path he was interested in pursuing. But really, all of what I said has finally come to fruition. And part of what I started doing at that time was realizing, well, I am vice chair, perhaps I'll become chair someday. And I began working on how can I make this, the idea of how can I make this county party run more smoothly. I've been not just interviewing the chairs in Dallas, County, in Tarrant County and Denton County. I've been talking to activists all over our county, Republican precinct chairs, long before Jonathan suddenly decided to step down. Because I want to know, what can you do to make this the best party, the most active party? What do you have to do to build back Dallas County? I am very prepared. I've been a leader in many organizations, in women's organizations, in Tea Party organizations, in the Southwest Dallas Get Her Done team, we call it. I've been a Republican leader in many organizations. I am ready to lead the county party, and I have the passion, the time, the commitment, and the plan. And I do think the time makes a difference.
I think very highly of Debbie. I think we should all be appreciative of those who volunteer their time. But this is the job of the county chair. His or her job is to raise money and to be your spokesperson. As county judge candidate, I've done all those things. I've organized volunteers, I've motivated volunteers, I've crafted a message, I've given that message in public and on TV. I've developed a good reputation both inside the party and outside the party. When the press has a question, they know to call me. This is a job that we have to hit the ground running. In 2012, we've got a presidential election cycle. It is not the time to see if we can, to learn on the job. It is time to hit the ground running. I've already done all the things that a county chair has to do, and I've excelled at it. More importantly, I've been there as a candidate, and I know what I needed as a candidate that the county party did not provide me. So I know what the county party needs to provide our candidates, what kind of support we need to provide so that we can be in the best position possible to win. I am all about winning in Dallas County. I know what needs to be done, I know it firsthand, and I'll do it as your county chair.
Wade, please tell us, how will you increase the major donor and sustaining member contributions for the Dallas County GOP?
Well, I think you first have to have relationships with people. They have to have confidence in the organization. They have to have confidence in the leadership. I believe that during my campaign as county judge, I developed relationships with the big donors. I can tell you that that's not easy. From a guy from southern Dallas County, most of the big donors didn't know there were Republicans in southern Dallas County. So I had to prove myself. But I've done that. They've contributed to me before, and they'll contribute again because they have faith in me, they know me, and they have faith in my leadership. When I ran for county judge, I had a lot of endorsements from a lot of business leaders. Ebby Halliday, for one. You know, those endorsements don't come lightly. Those signify a commitment. They signify a real belief, a real trust in the people they are endorsing. I've earned that trust over the last 2 years, and I'll use that trust to lead this party to greater fundraising by our big donors and greater fundraising by those who want to be involved and help out.
I have relationships with all those donors too, and I've actually worked with congressional candidates, serious congressional candidates who were successful in raising money. I understand who the big donors are, and I think the donors will respond to a reformed, transformed, energetic, active, engaged Republican County Party. Over the last several cycles, we have not had the kind of donations we normally have at the county party. Donations are down. Even the Eagle membership level that you all probably some of you may have participated in, is just a membership level for people who give, I think it's $1,000 a year or $2,000 a year, way, way down. Because there hasn't been a sense of energy, commitment, purpose in the county party, and that's what I will bring, and that's what the donors respond to. And they respond to that we actually are firmly committed to supporting the conservative values that have made our party strong, that bring new people in, where all the energy is on our side right now. And as I mentioned earlier, I've certainly raised money in other contexts besides politics. So I have contacts besides the political world, people through the schools have raised money for, and then other charities who would also be willing to donate to the county party because they would trust my leadership.
Thank you. Oh, it's a long one.
Multiple parts.
Okay, sounds like maybe Lyle Land wrote this one, I'm not sure. Good. Is it enough to have a flat architecture with several hundred precinct chairs under the DCRP chair? Or do we need additional levels above and beneath them, such as directors, to which several dozen precinct chairs report, or structured co-chairs and block captains? What should the party's role be in creating this structure?
I was going to joke and say, can you repeat the question? But I'm kidding, I got the question. Okay, you know, actually, it probably is from Lyle Land. I was going to comment and compliment him. And actually, Lyle Land was here tonight, or he was earlier. There he is in the back. Lyle has been working, and maybe with some of you also, in coming up with a very elaborate, isn't even good enough, a serious party structure plan that includes both areas of responsibility, substantive areas of responsibility, and includes geographic chairs, and has taken the time to talk with me at great length, I think with Wade too, to review his plan. But really what it shows is when you take the county party as a serious mission, it's a mission and the goal is to win elections, you have to have a bigger structure in place than simply precinct chairs. Now, I value precinct chairs. I am one. I knock myself out. I'm sure all of you do too. But the bigger idea of having our party have better communication systems, to have with the county party chair isn't having to do every little thing him or herself. I think in this past 3 years, and I should say, I'm grateful for Jonathan Neerman. I'm grateful for everyone who ever serves the party. But part of what we observed in the last few years is when you have a management structure of 2 people and really no one else involved, it means that people can't get jobs done, they can't get involved, and that's what needs to change. I think that is part of what inspired Lyle to write this plan. So there needs to be a much more elaborate structure. It does require a lot of volunteers. These are not going to be paid positions, but there's so much passion right now, we can fill it and have a serious structure that will help us win.
Yeah, I don't think a flat organizational structure is realistic in a county the size of Dallas. Do you realize that Dallas County has more people in it than 15 states have? You can't run a campaign of this size or a county of this size with a flat structure. I'm going to bring a business approach to it. I do believe we have to have other layers. I don't think a chairman, no matter how much time you have on your hands, can do everything. I think the person who takes this job has to be able to motivate, has to be able to delegate, has to be able to manage the people who are working at these specific tasks. I expect that we will have different committees, some that we already have, but these will actually be working committees. We will have people who report to the chair, and the chair keeps them accountable. That's how you run a large organization. One person, 2 people can't do everything. It's going to take us all, and that means improving our corporate structure, if you will, because it really is a business, and it has to be run that way. And up to this point, it may have served us well in the past, but it's outdated. It's not going to work anymore, and we need to fix it.
Okay, this will be the last question, and then we'll go to closing statements.
There was more clapping for the last question, I think.
Mark, will you read that? Can I say something? That was not my plan. 120 people had input to that plan. Half this room has been on the development of that day. So it's a collective effort, not just me.
Okay, how will you use voter turnout data to create a targeted strategy for Dallas County?
Well, we know from voter turnout, we know which areas have Republican voters and which ones are turning out. Those don't always match up. You may know this last election cycle, surprisingly, we had fewer voter turnout, Republican voters out of Coppell than we expected, and frankly, that really hurt us. We have to be able to target the areas that we know we have voter Republican votes. And if we don't, the same thing is going to happen. One of the keys that we learned in 2006 was that you have to turn out your base. You have to turn out your base, and if you don't, you're not going to win elections. We have to do a better job of turning out our base using the voter data that we have. We learned in 2008 that turning out our base isn't enough. We have to grow our party. We have to reach out to other folks. We can tell where those votes can come from, and we need to target them.
One of the great things I would love to do is combine the energy of the precinct chairs we have who turn out voters with the energy of the precinct area leaders in the Tea Party. You know, I have friends who are Tea Party activists. They're Republican. They voted Republican their whole lives. They became concerned after the Obamacare bill passed, and it seemed that they weren't sure, and they were first trying to stop it from being passed and then trying to bring about its repeal, and they joined a more activist, an organization that had a more activist feel. But the truth is, they're Republicans. And if we can link arms with those volunteers, we need voter turnout in all the Republican stronghold areas. And the Tea Party people, if we work with them, can be our allies. They can be turning out more voters for us. Instead of leaving them at arm's length and ignoring them, make them bring them in with us. And I know there were, look at the data that turnout in 2010, you look at areas and say, well, what happened here? This has gone down from, if you compare to 2006, why would that be? Sometimes it's a really active precinct chair or the absence of the active precinct chair. Sometimes, and actually in areas where the Tea Party was active, there was great turnout. There's a whole bunch of data. You could look at that and realize they really helped turn out the votes this last time. So yes, you have to use voter turnout data. You have to expect that areas that we should be Republican strongholds will be Republican strongholds if we work them.
Okay, now each candidate will have 5 minutes to, make their closing statements. I believe we had ladies first, but then Wade, would you like to go first this time?
Well, I want to thank you for your attention. I know this is a long debate. I told Mark that presidential debates aren't this long. So y'all gotten your fill of Debbie and I'm sure. I started off by saying that one thing I think will be crystal clear to you at the end of this is that there's really not debate on the whats. We're all in agreement on what needs to happen. We're really not in disagreement on the hows. What we need to determine is the who. The county party chair is the most visible Republican office in the county. You know this, that the messenger is at least as important as the message. The messenger has to be known not just in Park Cities, or not just in Cedar Hill or Southwest Dallas County, but all over the county. I've developed those relationships not only with the precinct chairs, the elected officials, but also the media. I've got credibility inside the party and outside the party. I say all that to say this. My single focus is to win elections. And I will make a pledge to you tonight that I will not leave any resource unused to do that. I know what it takes to win elections because I was there. We came so close, and I knew what we needed and we didn't have, and I am going to fix it in this next election cycle. But it's not just me, friends. It is all of you. I am here tonight participating because I want all of us to come together on May 18th, regardless of who wins, and set about the business of this county party and winning elections. I hope it's me that's elected county chair, but if it's not, I will be working side by side you come May 18th so that we can take back Dallas County. It takes all of us to win. It will take Debbie, it will take me, it takes all of us to win Dallas County back because the challenges are too great. I've been there. I've done it, and I'll do it again. please consider me for county chair.
On the subject of media relations, I'm going to tell you that my experience, I haven't even mentioned my trial experience long before I was here. And I have dealt with the media in very complex litigation and angry media criticizing our clients. I'm very comfortable talking with the media, whether it's the print, the television, any other kind of media. And in fact, I look forward to it. I think one of the problems in Dallas County quite often is the Democrats are always in the paper telling their story of how great they are, and we have not done that. Part of what I would do as county party chair is have a communications director more regularly putting out press releases, taking positions. Here's what we stand for. Here's what we're up to. It is a determination to get ourselves out in the media and be proud of who we are and proud of what we stand for. And then switching gears to another subject, I was going to tell you, in these calls over the last week, I have heard more than one of you say, you know, this is so hard on the precinct chairs. You're equally competent, you're both capable, you're both nice, you're both Republican. It's really hard to put us in this position. And I don't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable position, but I would argue that primaries, this is like a primary, it is a great chance for the precinct chairs, in essence, you're the hiring committee right now, to look at what does the county party need going forward, what actually are the requirements, what kinds of relationships need to be made, what kind of time commitment is needed. You're the hiring committee looking at two candidates. And I would urge you to think about the idea that whoever's elected on May 17th is going to start this job on May 18th, go through the next year to March, I assume go on. I will go on after next March and run again and intend to continue running the party. And it's a big job. It's a decision that requires discernment, and it requires not making a decision based on, you know, who called me first, what order the phone call came in, who has name recognition, who has all sorts of other. The question is, what does the job require, and who can do that better? I can tell you, if I'm county party chair, I will get up on May 18th, and I will drive to the county party office, and I will start the business of taking Dallas County back to the Republicans. I will work the relationships I already have around the county, begin restructuring the training and involvement of the precinct chairs, so we feel like we're an army. Because back to my point much earlier about the time of the revolution when there were, you know, a third of people didn't care. We're the third who care, right here in this room. We're the third who care enough to fight, and that's what's going to take back Dallas County. It's going to be a fight on many levels to bring new voters into our fold and to bring Republican victory, and I'm ready for that fight. And so on May 18th, I will drive to the office and start the fight, and I'll work all that day, and then I'll come back the next morning. And I think that is just a commitment I have, because I don't want to wake up one day and say, gee, I sure wish I had done more to fight back against Democrat control. I don't want Dallas to become Detroit. And we have right now Democrat government in our city and our county, and that's the direction it heads when we have Democrat control. So I think this is it's a big fight. It is an important fight. I'm up for it. And I actually will tell you, I think this is, I don't want you to be uncomfortable, but it's a healthy process for the party. It's a healthy process to re-examine what is required, and then you, the hiring committee, can decide. And I don't think anyone's going to go away mad on May 18th, whatever the outcome. I will be fond of all of you and think of all of you as my friends. But it's a decision that I hope you take seriously and conscientiously. And on May 17th, I hope you'll support me for county party chair. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. This has been great. A lot of really good questions. And that's it. We could not ask all the questions, but I'm sure the candidates will be around. If your question was not asked, you can ask it in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stop recording now.